and welcome to the reading of my new biography. My new biography covers the life and legacy and love of a very important woman in our world's history named Anna. Anna was the master of pepperoni and the master of pepperoni making. There was only ever one of her kind, and I just spent so much time researching her, and I thought her story really needed to be shared in this world. So I'm creating this podcast where I read each and every chapter about her legacy so that I can share it with the world, and maybe at the end you'll have a little piece of Anna in your hearts, just like I do now. Okay. Alright. Here I go. And I really want to say before I start, I really wanted to thank NPR for letting me on today to do this reading in preparation for when my publishers let this go live. Okay. Thank you. The water's delicious here. Okay. Anna, the Master of Pepperoni, a tale of triumph, love, and revival. Chapter 1. In the year of our Lord, XX29, we find ourselves face to face with our impeccable heroine, Anna. However, before her tales of sunshine and woe can grace the minds of the readers, the origins of our world's lone pepperoni and cheese factory must be established. The nature of this LLC is imperative to the context of the future actions that young, impressionable Anna will make. We find ourselves walking along the cold, desolate streets of a cobblestone-readied alleyway in Ohio. A small nothing burger, a flash-in-the-pan island tucked behind the outer winds' winds, like the lasting fart of a memory. Coal, hunger, and cynicism sustained the population with an endless collective pessimism for generations. Back then, the only light at the end of the tunnel was the rare promise of churned butter that depressed housewives made for their husbands who toiled away deep within the cavernous Ohioan coal mines. The golden condiment was the only source of light that glistened against the cruel, gray Ohio reality. A diamond lard in the rough. Rough it was, that life people lived. However, that was all set to change one fateful day several ambiguous years later, when a specific yet mysterious person on this flash fart island named Sandy brought forth the innovation of cheese and pepperoni. Sandy, born of the blue Cagliari blood of Ohio, never thought in her wildest dreams that she one day would discover life outside of churning butter. Except it was one day as she churned and churned and churned that lard that suddenly a paper advertisement gently flew through her window, gliding effortlessly like a precious baby gooseling on the small griddled wind. It landed on the impossibly small, dainty but rustic counter of Sandy's kitchenette kitchen. It was torn at the corners without ruining any pertinent information, but torn enough to give character to this piece of paper that had traveled along the wind for God knows how long. Sandy gasped in a coquettish surprise as this paper landed with a hushed thud. Smoothing her impeccably, questionably clean apron with her dainty yet sturdy pioneering fingers, she then cautiously walked over to the slab, now stuck on the counter. She stood peering at it with her ever-curious eyeballs. And once her peepers took that glance, she blinked in rapid succession, registering the new information present on this curious advertisement. For the first time in her life, she saw an ad. Not only was it an example of soliciting, it depicted promises of never-before-seen flavors, senses, and cuisines. Pepperoni and cheese. Written on the card in deep black ink were the words, come on down to Jay's. We have dairy and meat. With smaller cursing curl of shut. With smaller, hang on, I got it. Hang on, let me go back to this. Okay. Written on the card in deep black ink were the words, come on down to Jay's. We have dairy and meat. With smaller curling script below stating, that's it, we have nothing else. Flanking the lettering were simple, rustic, crude yet charming doodles of a single pepperoni slice next to a squiggling orange line of a shredded piece of cheddar. Sandy's perfectly imperfect orb shimmered like crystal, and a single tear ran down her cheek. Never before had she ever witnessed a promise like this, matched with art in her very own life. She slowly, languidly turned her head over her shoulder, casting a look at her butter churn. Savoring this chance, this change of pace, this dream, she took a breath. Eyes cast down upon the black and white linoleum-tiled floor, and glanced back at the churn. She whispered, never again, and stormed out of her perfect kitchen, slamming the front door of her perfect house, knocking over her perfect white picket fence post, and rushing towards the elusive Jays. After the quick little jaunt up the street, which felt like a lifetime of lifetimes whipping by, jostling Sandy's hair, she finally reached her seemingly long-awaited, fate-forecasted destination. A small building it was that almost seemed to blend into the bleak atmosphere of Ohio, save for the sign, boasting graphics in new colors of dubious pink and diluted orange. Sandy knew she was onto a new adventure. She could sniff it in the air. So very literally she could. She took a step through the door, its glass already shattered from a previous earthquake that tore open the cobblestone streets. Like many of the buildings here, they lacked glass. She looked over at the man at the counter, surrounded by big meat and dairy, and shouted at the top of her lungs, I have seen your advertisement. I've been given a vision to expedite your foodstuffs further into the creation of pepperoni and cheese. Her stance unwavering, her faith in herself rising like a gilded, graceful flying phoenix of resilience, her voice a song of change for generations and hope. The man at the counter with the lopsided name tag of Jay was so incredibly moved by her vision and words that he said, okay, I believe you. Gulping at her revelations and power, he stammered out, I may not know what these cheeses or pepperonis are, but by God, I trust your conviction. May the breeze guide you. Sandy then took these meats and specific dairy items, toiled away for days and nights, and days and nights, and days and nights like the butter churn, until she came upon finally creating pepperoni and cheese out of these items and nothing else. Her creations brought wild popularity and color to the lives of the Ohioans. For the first time, throughout the land, joy and laughter spread. The smell of these new foodstuffs filled the air in people's abodes, thanks to glass not being there. For years, she prospered for her talents and won so many various impressive accolades. All were happy, and so was Jay. He had no idea what to do with the meat or dairy at all. He was just there. Sandy won the hearts of all Ohioans, all things culminating into expanding her business into a fully fledged factory of pepperoni and cheese. Her reach didn't stop there. The famous Sandy's factory reached the ears of others living in the prairie lands. The little grayscale island was bursting with color and flavor. The promise of tomorrow's greatness radiated gloriously from the windowless island of once total pessimism. Tomorrow tasted better than sweet. It was salty. And that's the end of chapter 1. Tune in next time for chapter 2. Thanks again for the little waters. They're so adorable.